Madam Floor Lady, if you'll stand for me. Have you reached a verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
Is it unanimous?
Yes, sir, it is.
The defendant will rise.
Docket number 2022 GS 15-00592, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions in the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Okay. Guilty verdict. Signed by the forelady, 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS-15-00593, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions, the July term of 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116, verdict guilty, signed by the forelady, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS-15-00595, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, SC Code -16-23-0490, CDR Code 0549, verdict guilty, signed by the foreperson of the jury, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS-15-00594, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, SC Code 16-23-0490, CDR Code 0549, verdict guilty, signed by the foreperson of the jury, 3/2/23. Juror 630, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 729, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 826, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 864, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the jury has been polled.
Thank you. The jury has been polled, and the verdict is a unanimous verdict.
On those grounds, we would make a motion for a mistrial and to set aside the verdict.
By the State, response.
Your Honor, based on our previous arguments, we would submit that the case properly went to the jury and the verdict is proper, and we rely on those arguments.
We've been here now 28 days. Mr. Murdaugh, you now having been found guilty of 2 counts of murder involving your wife and your son, 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. The burden now comes upon the court to impose a sentence. Sheriff's Department. And he may be taken away.
Alex, did you kill your wife and son?
What do you think of the verdict, Alex?
Guilty. Why do you lie?
Pray for me, Alex.
It is a good day in South Carolina.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Today's verdict proves that no one, no matter who you are in society, is above the law. And our criminal justice system worked tonight. It gave a voice to Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, who were brutally mowed down and murdered on the night of June 7th, 2021 by someone that they loved and someone that they trusted. And so I want to say tonight, their voice was heard tonight and justice was brought for them. We can't bring them back, but we can bring them justice.
It really has been a great process. We will have sentencing tomorrow. Obviously, we're not going to comment on sentencing because that's still pending. But justice was done today. It doesn't matter who your family is. It doesn't matter how much money you have or people think you have. It doesn't matter what you think, how prominent you are. If you do wrong, if you break the law, if you murder, then justice will be done in South Carolina. And I think South Carolina has shown to the nation and the world how a process can work and work well. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let you go right here. I just want to thank you and your staff. Y'all did a good job. God bless you. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all. And thank you, media.
But I think it was the right verdict.
What about you, Jane?
Same thing. I think two people were brutally murdered, and there's no one else who could have done it. So
It's sort of surreal. It's exciting. It's
a tragedy,
weird.
but
yeah,
but it's also a bit of history. This is a case that nobody will ever forget for a very long time.
Yeah, ironically, my mother, before she passed away, lived at 1931 Moselle Road, which is about a mile and a half away from where the actual crime scene happened. And I grew up in these parts, know all the roads, all those back roads in Arlington real well, and was just fascinated, horrified actually, that something like this could happen in such a peaceful environment, the environment that I knew as a child, grew up in, all my relatives live in. Just these last 2 years have just been like a nightmare, thinking that something like that could happen in Arlington, South Carolina. So I had to come down. I live in Washington, D.C. area, and I had to come down just to see for myself the deliberations of this trial and be here when the actual verdict was handed down. So I think justice prevailed today. I'm glad that South Carolina is not looked at as a state where power and influence can rule out over justice. So in that sense, I'm kind of happy it turned out the way it did.